outside of drama, horror, comedy, sci-fi, and action, one of my favorite subgenres in film is not a musical, but movies about music. Not so much a biopic, but those are great as well, though. I'm talking about fictional bands and their fictional stories, with some of their best songs that will unfortunately never be played live by these actors. But to see somebody like Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter perform on stage as the Wild Stallions would be a dream. Or have Brendan Fraser and Steve Buscemi and Adam Sandler take over another radio station to play the new single from the Lone Rangers on cassette. Fictional bands hold a very special place in my heart. And tonight, in the Movieland Spotlight, I have the frontman of a fictional band from an amazing foreign movie about metal. Johannes Holopainen, also known as Turo, is the lead singer of Impaled Rectum from the 2008 Finnish comedy film Heavy Trip and the recently released 2024 sequel Heavy Trip. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm a big fan of your band, your movie, and your work.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Before we get into your filmography, just would like to know a little bit about how you got started in the film industry and who inspired you.
Okay, so I think the first stuff I did was like playing around with a video camera with my friends. We did make like a couple of skateboarding movies when we were kids, and that was a lot of fun to shoot and to edit and, add the music and, do that stuff. And I really enjoyed coming up with different games when I was a kid and still do. So I think everything sort of connects with what I enjoy doing in the film work. So for me, it's been a continuation of having fun and playing in the imaginative world with friends, and actually heavy and heavier trips are really, to me, they're like having a good time with friends, because when making the first movie, I did know Max, who plays Xutrax, the bass player in the band. I did know him before filming already, and but then as we filmed the first one, all of us became very good friends, and sort of the second film was a continuation of this journey together. So that's in a way how I got involved filmmaking. Then I did study acting in Finland. I studied in the University of Arts in the Theatre Academy for 5 years. So it's like a professional master's degree in arts. So that's what I did when I was in my 20s. And since graduation, I've been working as a professional actor, both in theatre and film.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you're born and raised in Helsinki, Finland, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of got started your native language there. When would English be something you became to learn?
For Finns, we start practicing English quite young, on the 3rd grade.
Okay.
And I was lucky to have a fantastic English teacher. I think she also was a big influence because in acting, because she made us perform, or she allowed us to perform the chapters of the book in the classroom. So we got to play different parts in the chapter, and I always loved doing that. And she was a really inspirational English teacher, and I fell in love with the language. And it was really something I always had good grades in English because I loved it so much. And we also we don't dub movies in the television. We always have subtitles. So I grew up with English language movies, and like Jim Carrey, Ace Ventura was a big thing for me. And then I was like, okay, that's fun. And so we learned. I think I knew it by heart when I was 8 years old. The whole movie Ace Ventura and the sequel as well. Just to give you an example, it wasn't something we rehearsed in the theater school at all.
Right.
But after theater school, in 2016, I think, was my first trip to Los Angeles. And I was interested, and I have the dream of working abroad, working with international people, to keep on learning and growing. And that's when I first started to act in English, and also noticed, okay, there's actually, it's different. to connect imagination and feelings with foreign language, even though it was something I knew well, but still there was this interesting bridge to build, and that's when I started rehearsing also the accent and just working with the language, and I got new friends, American friends, and they've been a key influence in connecting my feelings and my heart with the language. And one big thing that I love performing is a monologue play called Johnny Got His Gun, which is based on the same it's a book with the same name by Dalton Trumbo, and it's a pacifistic masterpiece from the 30s. And that's something I've been now performing for years in English, and it's really been a wonderful ride to portray this American young soldier who loses all his arms and legs and his face in the First World War, and now he's here to tell us, was it worth it?
Like a little Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump.
Yeah, yeah, good association, definitely.
No, that's great. It's interesting to hear that you started really early, and that's really good with the learning the English language. I didn't know that was a class here in Australia. The only real language they taught me was Japanese, but I have no intention to go to Japan. So
we were just in Japan with a heavy group in December. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, no, it looks like the coverage for Heavier Trip is amazing, but unfortunately it flew under my radar. I'll go into that a little bit later. You said that Jim Carrey was your main inspiration, do you believe, or was there other actors there like coming up?
I mean, like definitely he's been a big. I remember having dreams as a kid of hanging out with Jim. Yeah, so I still dream of meeting him, actually. So I hope that comes true. I think it was the way into acting was this enjoyment in imagining to be someone else or something else. Yeah, and there's this wonderful like dimension, this imagination, and that's something. And it's so much fun to meet others on that level. Okay, we're a metal band. Then we get everyone to believe that, and then we can share something in this imaginative world with these imaginative characters, and they come to life. And to see, for example, in Tokyo, we had a screening of the first movie, and then a week after that, we had the Japanese premiere in Tokyo and in Shinjuku Cinemark, which is a fantastic cinema, by the way. And to see people from a different country totally absorbed in this world that we have created and owning it, and it the feeling of connection is just, it was so strong, and see they having fun, meaningful experiences with this story. And Japanese people are so wonderful because they commit 100%. They're like dressed up as the characters in the film, and it was really like, okay, felt like, okay, this is like okay, they get it. So it's just, it's such a joy.
Yeah, no, it's very good to see that it's got a name for itself over there in Japan. Here in Australia, it's a little underrated. I try to bring it up to people, and like 1 out of 5 may know what it is. So this is I brought it up on the podcast a couple of times already because I've had a few other metal movies in discussion, and that's how I actually stumbled upon the sequel, which came out. So I was looking for photos of the original Heavy Trip and Heavier Trip. Well, photos showed up, and I was like, actually, I don't recognize that from the movie. Is this a sequel? How did this come out? But as I said, it just flew under my radar, and I was so excited that I had something new to watch. Did not even picture a sequel being made, but so glad it did. And it was such an upgrade as well. But before I go too far ahead with Heavy Trip, Heavier Trip, the sequel, I just got to say, Heavy Trip, when it comes to like talking about movies about metal or bands in general, Heavy Trip is always high on my list. Like the entire film captures the musician's struggles and adventures writing music, getting gigs, and just feeling the music and all the drama in between having a band. So like, so very well. Even with the language barrier and the subtitles there, I found myself hypnotized by this film, like upon my first viewing. it's not like taking itself too seriously, which is also good. The nice awkward comedy to it is just perfect. Like you all executed it perfectly. And yeah, so tell me exactly how this role kind of came about and your experience making that film.
I received an audition call. Don't remember exactly if I got the script at that point, and it was an unusual scene. And also, both of the director writers, Juuso and Jukka, they were present. They were so like down to earth and fun guys. When I read the script, it was really like unusual, also for like a Finnish comedy film script, and it really had this heart into it. Quite classical way of getting into a film is through audition process.
Yeah, exactly.
And but there was definitely something when we started to do this film. It was the first film of these guys, the first film they ever directed, and wrote.
It's an amazing
feature
accomplishment.
film. Yeah, they really wanted to develop this connection between us to make it sort of easy for us. We don't have to push anything into it, but we're actually friends.
The chemistry is great between the whole lot of you guys. Even the new guy that comes in later on down the track, like the whole band's great.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how it feels. It's making a movie with friends. That's a lot of fun. Also a lot of ideas from the actors. So making and rehearsing the scenes and shooting the scenes, there's this creative, playful space for ideas. That's really wonderful, and something I've noticed. There is a special atmosphere in the set of the Heavy Trip films, and people are like personally invested in making the film. In a way, the first film, it has the story of believing in yourself and like living your life, and I think it's something that's really relatable to a lot of people. And when we were making the film, we had no idea of what it would, how it would be received. Obviously, we were hoping that it would be received well because we had a lot of fun making it, and we put our hearts into it, and we really believed in this sincere story of these guys. Something we considered a very like a local Finnish story, and then it's something that resonates in Japan, Brazil, Australia. It's and even with the language, like you said, it's unifying experience, something I'm very grateful for.
Going back to when you were joining the cast, do you have any like musical background to kind of front, being a metalhead? Would you consider yourself a metalhead at all, or is that all just the role?
The way the casting process, that there wasn't any like
specific requirements or anything like that.
I mean, there were no specific requirements for skills to play anything or to be a metalhead or anything like that. So no competition in that sense. From the four of us, or actually five, I have a music background of playing different instruments. And the other guys, they just started practicing right away and did a lot of work with instruments. Like Max had never held a bass in his hands before, or Samuli a guitar, or Chike drums. I don't exactly remember if Antti had played drums before, but for sure none of us had played this kind of music. I can now speak for myself. My metal background is that I have listened to rock and heavier stuff, and also metal in some sense. But I got like to Megadeth and Metallica and then to like Dream Theater and like progressive stuff as well. And when I got an electric guitar and I wanted to play fast and do that stuff. But the deepest, blackest stuff was maybe something I hadn't dipped myself into before working with the film. Luckily, this gave me a good reason to jump into those dark waters. And a word about the music Impaled Rectum plays is also not the easiest to get a hold of, because some of the material is so difficult that even the coaches that we've had can't play that. Some of the guitar stuff is so fast, or the drumming stuff is so fast that even the coaches can't play it. So Yeah, so you know, it was a nice Mission Impossible, but
I struggle to believe that you weren't a metalhead. So like I had a feeling you weren't, but like just seeing it, you played it perfectly until a T. Like anyone that would have watched the movie would have believed you're a metalhead. So well done on that one. Absolutely nailed that performance.
I could say I think we all became metalheads. That's great. It was a really wonderful process to get into that, you know, that world, and also like you know, the hair was a big part of it. You know, it's you know, these different pieces that, you know, bring the characters to life. Is just I remember like first time getting the hair on, it was like, okay, such a big part of the identity of a metalhead. You know, that
Exactly. Yeah.
it's just like it does so much. It does so much. Yeah.
One out of the many things that I love about this movie is the first song the band composes, which is Flooding Secretions, aka on your thighs.
Yeah.
Did you find it hard to really perform that?
Like I have sung before and had experience of that. Different techniques in metal vocal. There was some, you know, very new territory for me. So excited about it, and I had a very good teacher. What we hear in the film, talking about two films, there's like at some parts you can hear me singing, but there is a guy been doing it for all of his life, and who is a master, and who is Emil, who sings the vocals for these tracks. So just to give him credit, you know, he's the guy. But
Yeah.
but I got so into it. So there was a point when we were making the first movie. There was a moment also when the other director, Yuzo, who is the OG metalhead, who brings the credibility and who brings that stuff into this whole thing. There was a moment when we were with Yuzo also like considering like, hey, maybe what if I would now pursue this technique, and you know, so far that I could actually perform the songs. I got so like ambitious about it. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. But it was, the time frame was so tight.
Yeah.
So it would have been, I think it was a wise decision from you. So that, okay, it would have been too risky for my vocal cords to, you know, I might have like lost my voice when filming, and also I was working in the theater, so it was also risking, you know, that stuff. So then I was like, okay, let's let Emil do it.
I rewatched both films today, and I think I know what you mean, where some of your vocals are left in it, like the song would stop, or you're about to sing the song and you can hear you kind of screaming before the music starts. So I can see that, and that's cool that there's other probably Easter eggs there of your songs, your vocals in the song. But yeah, like I think it was sorry, Mike Lamassari wrote the songs.
Mika wrote the songs, and then Emil did the vocals.
Yeah, and you communicated much with them at all? Was it just
actually I've never met them. I've never spoken with them. So it's Yuzo who's been the link between, and so we got the like the track for both films, because the second film there's more songs, and there's like different versions of the same song also, but in a way similar process, that we got the song before shooting began, so we had time to rehearse, and we got separate tracks for you know, vocals and drums, and so we had our own coaches to work with, and then Yuzo was the link between Mika. Well, not that it would be forbidden, you know, it would be interesting to talk with Mika actually, and you know, sending my appreciation to the master, you know, but But yeah, it would be nice to meet him someday.
Yeah, that blows my mind. Absolutely, they haven't had a conversation, but yeah, that
Yeah.
first song, "Flooding Secretions." Like, if I had to make a top 10 all time of my favorite songs, like that one would be on it. It gives me goosebumps every time I hear it, and it was probably like the standout thing about that movie that made me go, "Wow, this is something I'm going to watch more than once." And yes, I've watched it plenty times, and yeah, iconic song, and it's mind blowing. Yeah, Impaled Rectum is the name of the fictional band in the movie. Who thought of the band name?
That's from Juuso, and Juuso also has friends who come up with good band names. It's a mixture of different ideas, and then
Yeah,
there is a band called Impaled Nazareth, Oulu, the northern town where Juuso and Jukka also, like, where they started working together. So that might be had an influence, and then, but you know, it's a creative process of its own. But that comes from Juuso, and also the lyrics for the songs are written by Juuso. And he remember he talking about this, like, that some of the stuff is like in a way cringe for him, but then it's like good for the for the Blood Motor, for example. The voice you hear in Heavier Trip, the Blood Motor's song where the Rob is singing, that's actually Juuso
oh really?
voice. Yeah, it's but heavily modified.
I read a little bit that Impaled Rectum kind of started as a high school mockumentary from the directors. They kind of completed that, and then it worked into a spec script for Heavier Trip later on down the track. Did you hear about that at all?
Yeah, they worked on this school project
Yeah.
when they were studying together in the film school there, and I've also seen the first.
All right, so it still actually exists. That's one thing I'd like to say. It'd be good to see it.
Yeah, I think they should publish it somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's a different kind of story there. It's like Turo. It's the same characters and different actors, obviously. It's many years before we met. But there's Turo is like secretly digging like this Finnish folk music, which is like not metal, it's not metal, and so he is like hiding this secret, like a guilty pleasure, and then he comes forth with his hidden thing, and then it creates some kind of a crisis in the band. But then and also it's fun to see that Juuso is playing Xytrax in that version. So I think they didn't want to show it to us before we had completed shooting the first movie. So I think they like around when we were wrapping the first one at a wrap party or something, then they showed it to the whole crew, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'd help make it more unique. Otherwise, you'd be inspired by it and try to be a little bit like this. That's pretty smart of them to do that. But yeah, I definitely applaud the directors and writers for the script. Like, I can't imagine them like laughing in stitches while doing this. Like, that's just in my memory. Like, another great iconic scene they wrote is when the band wants to get an album cover photo, but they don't have anyone with a camera. So the drummer gets the van and speeds like solo past the speed camera while the band poses in front of the van speeding past. Like, so funny, and it's such an amazing photo too, by the way.
Yeah, it's such an amazing photo. I love that photo. I have it with me, the original copy. That
Oh really?
Great idea also. Like
It's so
well, it's just like and those are like those like details that's
yeah.
It's like just shows the creative playfulness they've shared together, and it takes time to work on a script to produce these kind of ideas, and I think it took them like 5 to 6 years to write the first movie script. Also took many years to write the second one as well.
For anyone who wants you to describe the musical style of Impaled Rectum, how would you explain it? Wink, wink.
Symphonic, post-apocalyptic, reindeer grinding, Christ abusing, extreme war pagan, Fender Scandic metal.
Thank you. I was wondering if you're going to pick up on that or not, but yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for doing it. I was like, am I going to do it or are you going to do it? So I'm so glad you did it, because I rehearsed it a couple of times and it wasn't working.
I remember first time I think it was like I think we were like on a film festival somewhere in Europe, and then I just like threw it out there, and I was like, "Whoa!" it's just like it's just like running downstairs. You just like go for it at the side of your mouth, and it's like, "Oh well, I made it."
I actually came across this film after watching the Mayhem movie called Lords of Chaos. Are you familiar with that one?
I know the film. I haven't seen it though. Yeah, yeah, but I'm interested to see it, and the story is familiar to me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I love that film so much. And yeah, obviously, I knew of the real story, well, very briefly, of the story. But watching the movie, like everything I knew happened in the first 10 minutes, and I'm like, what else could possibly happen to these guys?
Okay.
Jesus,
Nice.
it's
Okay.
very
Yeah.
very like I know a lot of people are against the make of that movie because obviously it's slightly a biopic, but they threw in a lot of lies, I guess, so to say. But it is just such a powerful film, how it's performed. Rory Culkin, the brother of Home Alone, Macaulay Culkin, plays Euronymous, the leader of Mayhem. And wow, he became one of my favorite actors after that. And Varg was played by another guy. Always forget his name for some reason, but he just played Varg so well. So a lot of people who are Varg fans and all that are against that too. But I'm taking it, obviously, you call me not a Mayhem fan prior to seeing the film. So I'm a fan more of the movie and the performances rather than the band and its history. But I do appreciate the songs that are in the movie and love them, but think of them more of a soundtrack. Call me a poser, I guess. But wow, the movie's great, and I can't recommend that enough.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the recommendation. Yeah, it's something that I've wanted to see for a long time, so this is a good reminder to check it out. Yeah.
After I watched Lords of Chaos, I just wanted to see more movies that are about metal, and there's a short list of them, sadly. And I was reluctant to watch this one, obviously because of the subtitles, but I gave it a shot, and I feel this film draws inspiration from Mayhem. I don't think you may have been aware of that, but I definitely see sprinkles of it. It's mainly in the bass player's character. I can't pronounce his name. Sorry.
Xatrax. Yeah, there's the corpse paint.
Yeah, not just the corpse paint.
I think they were shot in at the same year almost. But I remember like
it came out the same year.
Yeah, I remember like that came out. Like, oh, there's another metal movie as well. So yeah, and I've understood it's a totally different like genre. That it's like
the music's definitely a different genre. I just mean his character resembles him, not so much just the corpse paint. That's kind of a basic influence of Mayhem, but just his character traits of that's phony to do that, or all the specific bands you can listen to. It just sounds so Mayhem to me. If it were coming from Lords of Chaos, that's my extent of knowledge of the band, to be honest. But I did a lot of studying of Mayhem after watching Lords of Chaos, and just kind of picked and it just seemed familiar to me within watching Heavy Trip. But others I see, obviously Death Clock and Spinal Tap, like the music kind of mockumentary and with the fake band thing is seems to be an influence. But yeah, how do you feel this film relates to those films, or do you have any interest in those bands at all?
To Mayhem, and there are bands that we've listened to when getting drawing inspiration from the music, but we haven't had any specific like films or anything that I think it's more to like the directors, and I think their references are like totally different than other death metal movies. They're like Blues Brothers and stuff like that. Also, when we were shooting the second film in Wacken in Germany at this great festival, and that's when we got to really experience, this community live. And when we were shooting the scenes on the stage when Turo is performing, and we had this huge group of extras who were actually festival goers in Wacken and who came to work with us for 2 days. And they were so full of love and so enthusiastic. It was so like positively intoxicating to go on stage and have this group of 200 or 300 people just full of love. and we needed them to be also like, because in the scene then Turo gets off. No, I'm spoiling, but gets off stage, and we needed the crowd to stunned and actually like to have them not react positively. And so it was like more work for us to like try to keep them quiet. It was like totally different to they're like trying to like, hey, let's just like make some noise. But it was actually like, please, we just, for this shot, can we just like not make noise, please? Yeah. It was actually no, the opposite. And also, and this particular moment for us was a really lovely memory when we were done. We were wrapped in Wacken, the shoot in Wacken, and then we had this 1 hour before we had to be back at the base and sort of get our stuff and leave. And then we were in the full gear with the costumes and the corpse paint on Max's face, and we had this whole thing, and we had this 1 hour to explore the festival, because we came to shoot a few days before the festival opened, so we were there like when we building, and now the festival was full on, tens of thousands of people and metalheads around, bands playing, and we're in these costumes. And then people, some people recognizing us and coming to meet us. And then just also like for us to just feel like we are a metal band now here in Wacken, with this gear, and to really be there, in the place that we had worked for, also anticipated for years now to get there to shoot and stuff. And now we were there, experiencing this festival, and it was like, and getting this experience of being a part of this metal community, really heartwarming.
It seems like it brought Impaled Rectum to life. It's just been behind cameras, and there you were with fans and everything, and out in the open with everyone. That probably, it would have been a surreal feeling, absolutely. But that's great. Even when Flooding Secretion comes on my playlist in the car, I'm always picturing you guys playing it. I no disrespect to the actual producer, you guys are a fictional band playing in my head. So it's great. It's great to hear you got some fans out there, and it's special to you. Like I was hoping, the band is a special thing to you. So that's great to hear. And shooting at Wacken, you said it was a couple of days before it opened. Was that like 300 extras actors, or was that actual Wacken fans just participating?
They were actual Wacken fans. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so they were obviously aware it was happening, and they...
Yes. Yeah, yes. And so seemed to me that they were like casted beforehand, and like there probably was like an open call for extras.
Right. Oh, yeah, good.
So they were really well informed, and they were great extras. They were like more than extras, because they were the real thing as well. So like, it's a really wonderful feeling, really not taken for granted.
Well, the first film holds a 90% positive score on Rotten Tomatoes. You got to be real proud of that. Like having a sequel with that success is obviously something that you were expecting, or did it just kind of come out of the blue? And like, how did it kind of come about doing the sequel?
I think when we were shooting the first movie, I think it was sort of like in the air, especially towards the end of shooting the first one. It would be wonderful to continue this adventure. And there is a line in the film, at the end of the film, in Turo's voiceover, when he goes like, you'll hear from Rectum again, or something like that. I don't know how it's translated, but probably wasn't until first film had come out, we had been like stunned with how it was received. The producers approached them with the idea like, hey, what do you guys think? Could you write the sequel? And then they started working on that. And that's when we also, the band, we got the info that, okay, now it's starting to, they're starting to write it. And then it took many years, I don't know, 4 years or 5 years again, for us to be in a moment of actually getting into production. So it's never like with the initial idea that, okay, let's start working on it. It's never it's never sure until you're actually there on the set, and everything's like ready. But like I said in the beginning, for us it was the first film was the start of a friendship. Great how they generously again opened the process to us, and were welcoming to our ideas and perspectives of the characters, and so we had our word as well on how it could be. And then through years, and then we were at that day when we put the wigs on again, and got the same old shoes and the leather jacket, and Max got his corpse paint on, and then we were, I think it was one of the first, or maybe the first location where we shot was the slaughterhouse, which is one of the key locations for the band, and in the first movie that was like it was an emotional feeling, to see the band live again, to see them, here they are again.
That was the question I was going to say. Like, did you all keep in touch and like hang out much after the first film, or was the first like reunion when you started shooting the second film?
We were in touch. There was also like some things involved with the film. There were like there might have been some screenings or also like we got together, like for example when there was the German dubbed version came out, that's when we got together to watch it together, because for us it seemed like fun to see the film with different voices.
Yeah.
Many things, and also then just like other things we've been doing, having fun and just playing video games and weddings and whatever.
That's great.
And then also knowing that they're also working on this thing, and like and then we were like able to also like participate and in this atmosphere of it coming together from the ideas, and then and some of the crew like our grip, and there was familiar people from the first film, which felt good. Also a lot of new people, and we had the vast majority of our crew was now from Lithuania, where we shot most of the film. So that was also there was a lot of new people involved in it, and some new actors. It's new energy. For example, from Anatole Taubman, who plays Fisto in the second film, and he brought so much into the character, and he brought so much into the film, and it was a lot of fun to work with him, and he really locked in. He really cared for the film.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, he was great. I really like the direction of the second film, taking the band to Wacken though. Like, the only thing I was upset about was the climax didn't get the impaled rectum on stage. Though I understand the direction of it, but it would have been cool to have another flooding secretions moment of victory, like them like playing on stage, which I believe only is briefly done at the very start of the film when you're at the jail and you're told to be playing, jazz or whatever you're playing, and then go into that new song. That moment's wild, but I was just hoping that to happen at Wacken.
Yeah, that's true.
Spoiler again, it would be a band back in jail. Do you think that a third film is possible?
Yes, I think it's possible. It's been very much talked about. Also, like when we were in Japan. So there's these great ideas for the third one, and that's the question we get the most, because obviously with the play with the names as well, like heavier, like maybe heaviest trip, and then they could be like an even heavier trip. You thought that was the heaviest, but check this out. but it is a possibility, and mostly the question for the directors and producers, and
That's great. It's good to hear that it's already come up in conversation, with the cameos in the second film, like being amazing, like especially like say with Baby Metal. I love their story with Paddy's secret obsession with them. So I feel like the third film could start like, where is he? He's over there with Baby Metal. He's like, no, I'm not. Something like that, and like the quest to go retrieve him or something, and he's completely changed his metal taste now, and he's just into all this different type of music, wearing pink t-shirts or something. I like to pitch sequel ideas.
Yeah. I've been thinking about, just me personally, like, would be fun to get these different ideas from people who've seen the films, and now it would be just fun to hear these different ideas. What then? That's it.
Yeah.
It would be fun to get this collection of great ideas.
Do you have any other ideas where you'd like to take it?
Well, we talked about Japan a lot, so that's
Yeah.
where I've been like playing with that thought, and
Yeah.
and then also we were able to bring the whole band into Tokyo, and we also, like, in the premiere of the second one, we had a gig in the cinema, like air guitar style, like without instruments, because we didn't have any with us, but we had with Impaired Rectum was there. It was great.
Heavy Trip is available to rent or buy on Apple TV in Australia. However, the sequel is yet to find a distributor down here. So hopefully we'll get a release for that soon for everyone to watch it down here properly. All right, another standout film of yours was a massive 3-hour bout for the 2017 action war film, The Unknown Soldier. What was it like working on that film and under that extreme environment?
Really big experience in so many ways. A monumental novel for Finland and Finnish people. There's something to the book that serves, with which we are able to talk about war, the Second World War, the wars that we had in Finland when my grandparents were young. Obviously had a big impact on the Finnish people. It's a generational trauma that's that's what they say. It takes like 3 generations to unpack a trauma of war. So it's something that we've been working on, and this novel that was written right after the war. It's a really good book, and it gives insight into it. And this was already the 3rd film adaptation of the novel. Rather than telling about the time that it portrays, it actually tells about the time when it's made. And all these 3 films, they're totally different. And right now the approach for me also, and personally, was to understand the people who went through it, so that I could also understand myself better. So it was a really meaningful project to dive in to the experiences of the people who went through war. And I thought a lot about my grandparents, and I had these discussions also with my relatives about it, and how they feel that it influenced their family, and my uncles and stuff. And the film production was a massive one. It was like the most expensive film done in Finland, and it was a big deal to be part of it. And also doing all the training and like when I'm telling about my mind, it's filled with these memories of, for example, the scenes, the battle scenes, and how they were, and how it was like to really share this experience with these people, and a lot of people went to see it. Country of 5 million people, that was like past 1 million tickets sold on the cinemas. And
yeah, a 3-hour film is rare these days, but today people binge TV now it's appealing. So like I read over 458 hours of footage was captured for this film. So we got the short version.
There's like 3 versions of the material. There's the original cut of the film. Yeah, they showed in Finland. And then there's the international cut, which is slightly shorter, and it provides a bit more context of information about the war. And then there's the TV series version, which is 5 one-hour episodes.
Right.
And to me, I've seen them all. The original cut of the film, I think, is better because it just has more time with the characters, and in the National Cup they cut some scenes out, and I think I missed those scenes in that one. But then the TV series version to me is my favorite, because it has all the scenes that was in the script, and it's sort of the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the 2-hour versions on SBS, which is a TV station here in Australia that I started watching, does have subtitles, so I'm going to get through that one, but I wasn't had the time to get through the whole thing before this interview, but it's definitely one on my watch list, especially because I heard the film set a Guinness World Record for the special effects department detonating the most TNT explosives in a single film take of 70.54 kilos of TNT. Were you there for that? Like hidden behind like a thing to see that go off, or
I I I believe I know which scene that was. If it is this one, but anyways, I'll share this. I'll share this story. It was like we got ready with the costumes on, these old gray army outfits, and the dirt in our hands and faces and everything, and then they dropped us out at the in the woods by this quite wide river, and then we were waiting there for hours and hours, and it was like raining, and we were waiting and waiting, and like there's something happening, and it was like quite basic because it was a big production. There was so many pieces to put together, and it was great. It was important that the actors are, when we get to shoot, the actors are there, and then we're ready to go. And we entertained ourselves, and and then finally something starts to happen, and they get us to these boats, these old boats, with these motors that have this big, very long thing, and that definitely, that scene is something that doesn't happen every day. We got on the boats, and I had the command also as the character to shout like forward, and to give the order to go. We get in, when we get to the river, we start crossing the river, and then we see on the other side of the river, the forest just like jumps, and these like big statues of this like smoke, and this like, and this fire flame, system, this like massive heat waves just like hits our faces. It was like actually like super hot.
yeah.
Oh, we had to cover your face from the heat, and the forest just starts falling down. And then they had also these bombs in the water, and so these like massive water statues just like it just start going and between the boats, and it was just like this. It was and then we had this machine gun in the front of the boat, like firing. It was like it was easy to relate to a battle situation with that or with all of that special effect, or then or it was some other one, but that was for me.
So you weren't aware that explosion was going to happen? That they're trying to get genuine reactions out of you guys?
We knew that what's gonna happen, but still,
you didn't know the magnitude of it.
yeah, the heat and all of that is just like, we didn't know what to expect. Like, obviously we were excited, but I remember also like we got on the other side, and then the weather had changed. It was like sunny, and I guess again we had to wait, but now everyone was like so cheerful after this adrenaline rush. Everyone was just like laughing, and it was like,
I can imagine it helps give you the anxiety to perform in that role, to the sense of fear having that situation happen. So it worked kind of both ways. But I've felt that heat thing you've talked about before. There's like movie theme parks, and they've made explosions. So I can imagine it being a 10 times worse being on that set. But that's insane. It makes me excited to get through the movie to see this scene. And as I said, it's available to watch on SBS On Demand in Australia. That is The Unknown Soldier 2017. So check it out. Any other movies you're working on at the moment or in the near future?
There is a movie about the Finnish folklore. It has many stories to it. It's these old tales of the Finnish people from back in the days, from like hundreds years ago. And they were this guy who collected these stories, and they were like different songs and poems that the people used to tell, and they were collected into a book, which is a national treasure in Finland, and there's been great fine art done by it, and now it's been made. One of the stories is now being made into a film. Really exciting about vengeance and the rivalry between brothers, and it's now in production. We shot last summer, that's coming out early next year. So it's Kalevala, Kullervo, story of Kullervo. I think it's the first time I got to do like a sword fight scene in this one. It's quite rare to get to do these like old, and I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings.
All right. Yeah.
And the films, I think they're masterpieces, and I've watched the films and the making ofs like many times. I just love it, and it's just something. It's great that they made the making ofs as well, because it's so fun to get to be part of that production. It's just so great. It's just like so wonderful, and also the camaraderie they share, and making these fantastic films. And so for me, it was like also to get to do a sword fight was also for me like my
You're in Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I love watching behind the scenes stuff, and it's another reason I love doing these interviews is to go more behind the scenes and meet the actors. It's surreal and getting behind the scenes there. So yeah, but speaking of Lord of the Rings, here at Movieland, we love recommending movies. So I just want to know what are 6 of your favorite movies you recommend for us to watch.
Yeah, maybe if I just like make it easy on myself now, it's like, okay, Lord of the Rings, that's already 3.
Right.
That's already 3. And
1, 2, 3.
yeah, 1, 2, 3. I remember this film. How can you build a story and tension and a character without dialogue? And there are many great prison break films made, like Shawshank Redemption and
Right.
and others. But this one is an old one called The Man Escaped, and there's hardly any dialogue in the film. It's so beautiful. It's in black and white and beautiful. It's shot so beautifully, and it's really poetic. And it's I think it's a great film. And that maybe could lead me also to like Andrei Tarkovsky, master of filmmaking, and also something that I really love. Also, the stuff that he writes about film, and it really resonates with me is his idea of film as an art form being so much more than just about telling a story, and that a film is like a poem. It can go from place to place. It can travel in time, and all of his films, and especially I think Mirror is something that's really. It's like watching a dream. You can watch it over and over again. It's a good old American movie, A Place in the Sun. It's, Elizabeth Taylor. Watching it is like a physical experience because of the thriller aspect to it. It's just like it's a great movie. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us today. I wish you all the best with your future work, and don't forget to be kind and rewind, and do not do your homework without wearing headphones. Thank you so much.